Well, if you're looking for a fantasy football channel that really cares about the viewers, you've come to the right one. We've read a lot of comments this week saying, hey, we love the start-sit episodes. They're awesome. But can we get a rankings episode? Well, we weren't really planning on it, but ask and you shall receive. Let's hit some fantasy football rankings here for week 1. What's going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully you guys are all doing well out there. Welcome back to the Draft.com studios. Today we're talking rankings. Now, we put our start-sit videos out here earlier in the week, and we saw a few comments on them saying, hey, can we get some rankings maybe at the end or maybe a separate show? Yeah, you can. We listen to the people and try to give everything that we possibly can. Y'all want rankings? Y'all gonna get some rankings. In this episode, it's gonna be quick though. I'm not trying to take up a whole lot of your time. I'm gonna break down the top 20 rankings for each of the 4 major positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, remaining to play this week, and trying to help all those last minute lineup questions. Let's see if we can settle some of those here in this rankings episode. But once again, make sure you hit that like button for me. We greatly appreciate it. That is what really helps us here on YouTube. But for now, let's talk some rankings, quick and dirty style. All right, let's kick it off with the quarterback position. This one may be somewhat of a surprise. It's a question we've seen a lot this week so far. People are a little bit hesitant maybe about Patrick Mahomes because of his matchup going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not hesitant. This is an offense that you just can't ever sit. You want a part of these pieces. Patrick Mahomes, still my number 1 quarterback this week. Number 2 is going to be Deshaun Watson. I do expect a shootout between the Houston Texans and the New Orleans Saints. There could be a lot of yards, a lot of points in that game. I want a piece of it. Deshaun Watson is an automatic must start for me here. Love him. Quarterback 2 this week. Number 3, Baker Mayfield. Hashtag The Bake Show in Cleveland is my number 3 quarterback this weekend. I really think Cleveland comes out and tries to make a statement week 1. There's a lot of haters with the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people already waiting for them to, implode on themselves and totally blow it this season. I expect the Cleveland Browns to come out hot and heavy to try to prove a point. Baker Mayfield against the Houston Texans at home to open the season. Love it. He's quarterback 3. Coming up next, Jared Goff, quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, going to Carolina. I mean, there's reports coming out that Gurley will not be limited. Now, of course, they're not just going to come out and always tell you the truth. There could still be some limitations. But with the weapons they have in this offense, with Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp, who seems to be like the bionic man, Jared Goff has plenty of weapons on the outside. Still love him. He's my number 4 quarterback this week. Next, Kyler Murray. A lot of people want to hate on the Arizona offense. A lot of people want to hate on Kyler Murray. But it's still real. The rushing upside is real there going against the Detroit Lions. I do expect the Lions to be able to put up some points in this game. The top 2 cornerbacks of the Arizona Cardinals are out, so I expect Matthew Stafford to have a decent game through the air. If they continue to score, what does that mean? Kyler Murray is not only going to have to continue to throw all 4 quarters, but behind a poor offensive line, may be forced to scramble at times. Love the rushing upside with Kyler Murray. Coming up next, Carson Wentz. I think it's going to be a fairly simple game for him against the Washington Redskins. The only issue that I may see with Carson Wentz is maybe if they get a big first half lead, they rely a little bit more on the run in the second half. However, he's got more than enough weapons and more than enough opportunity to have a great game. I got him coming in here, quarterback 6. Number 7 is Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens. This may be a little high for some people, but we love him this week due to his matchup against the Miami Dolphins, who absolutely are going to suck this year. That defense is not going to be great. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens should have their way on the ground against the Miami Dolphins. Are there going to be a lot of designated run plays for Lamar Jackson? Maybe not as much as we saw last year, but that ability and that upside is still there. We don't expect a huge game maybe through the air, but that rushing upside alone is enough to get him in your lineups. We have him as quarterback 7. Number 8, Russell Wilson, Seattle Seahawks, going up against a depleted Cincinnati Bengals. Yes, it does sound like DK Metcalf is going to be on the field, so him and Tyler Lockett will shoulder the majority of the pass-catching work. Russell Wilson has proven to be able to show up and put up points with names that you probably haven't heard much of. There could be some big plays in this game. Russell Wilson is a safe floor play, in my opinion. Right now, have him as quarterback 8. Number 9, Dak Prescott. Love Dak Prescott this week. Going up against the New York Giants. Not only is Dak trying to prove that he's worth a butt ton of money, but now they have Ezekiel Elliott back. They have a solid offensive line. They have weapons on the outside for Dak arguably the best weapons as a combined whole that he's probably maybe ever had in his career. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, who's going to take a huge step forward this year. Randall Cobb in the slot. We already talked about Zeke Elliott in the backfield. That's really going to keep the defense honest. Love Dak Prescott going up against the Giants. Number 10, Drew Brees. I mentioned it with Deshaun Watson earlier. I expect a shootout. The only reason that I have Brees a little bit lower, I expect a little bit more from the run game in New Orleans. I do think Brees throws the ball a lot in the first half. We may see a lot more Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray in the second half. Drop Drew Brees down just a hair. Matt Ryan got him at number 11, dropped him down due to his matchup against the Minnesota Vikings. He still may be a little bit high. However, it does sound like Julio Jones is going to play. Calvin Ridley, Mohamed Sanu, Devontae Freeman in the backfield. Even though it's a stingy defense against the Minnesota Vikings, there's enough weapons that they can move the ball around to really give Matt Ryan an opportunity for a solid day. Coming in at number 12, Kirk Cousins, playing against Matt Ryan there. I think Kirk Cousins has an opportunity to really have a solid game. With Diggs and Thielen, the opportunity is already there, right? But I do think that they try to get Dalvin Cook going early and often in this game to establish the run game. If they can establish the run game in Minnesota early this season, that's really going to open things up down the field later on for the Stephon Diggs and for the Adam Thielens. They got to get Dalvin Cook in that run game going, though. Kirk Cousins, another safe play, got him at quarterback 12. 13 is going to be Big Ben Roethlisberger. Could be a shootout between him and the Patriots. How is that offense going to be now without Antonio Brown? We already know Le'Veon Bell's been gone for, this will be the second season, so that's not much of a change. James Conner should be heavily involved here. Does James Washington or Dante Moncrief really take a step forward? That's the biggest thing here for the Steelers. We need them to take a step forward. If they don't, defenses are going to really be able to hone in on Juju Smith-Schuster, and if they can shut down Juju, things could get a little bit hairy at time for the Steelers. They need Moncrief, they need Washington, one of those guys to step up to pull away some defensive attention. Got Big Ben a little bit lower, but he's got some room to move up here before game time. Number 14 is Jameis Winston, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've been talking about it all offseason. The defense is horrible. The offensive line is horrible. There is no run game in Tampa Bay. What does that leave? A lot of throwing. We're going to use Jameis Winston a lot, and he's somebody who, as we get into the weekend, may actually creep up these rankings just a little bit. I like Jameis a lot this week just due to the fact that they're going to have to throw a lot against the San Francisco 49ers. I expect a little bit better showing from the offense of San Francisco. I think they're going to be able to put up points against Tampa Bay. That could only lead to Jameis Winston throwing for all four quarters. Coming up 15, Tom Brady going up against those Pittsburgh Steelers. Hard to really count out Tom Brady. No N'Keal Harry, but Josh Gordon will be there. Julian Edelman will be there. Everybody's asking me questions. Is Gronk coming back? I don't see that just yet. If the Patriots come out and start winning games, the Gronk talk will start to quiet. I think Tom Brady is a safe play. Do I think he goes out and throws for 400 yards this week and we see vintage Brady? Maybe not in week 1, but I do think that he is grossly underrated for the season. So number 16 is Cam Newton. A lot of people want to call him Scam Newton. I'm not a huge Cam Newton fan this year in general. They're going to be at home playing against the Rams. Aaron Donald could make his life, absolutely miserable on the inside. I really worry about the deep ball of Cam Newton. Now, we've seen him in practice. We've seen some highlights looking like he's healthy. But what's going to happen when he's in there in a game situation, a regular season game situation, 1 or 2 hits on that injured shoulder could really limit Cam Newton. He may be limited to the short to intermediate routes, with the Curtis Samuels and Christian McCaffreys, and it could really limit the upside. They don't want him to run a whole lot in Carolina. That's what leads to all these injuries. They're trying to keep him healthy and safe behind a below-average offensive line. So number 17 is Phillip Rivers of the Chargers. Sounds like Keenan Allen's going to be good to go. Mike Williams, another huge threat in the passing game to go along with Hunter Henry. Yes, there's no Melvin Gordon, which is a bad thing, obviously, but I think Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson will be able to shoulder enough of the load to have a productive running game there. Phillip Rivers will be able to use both weapons. I think that he's another one of these quarterbacks that could creep up the later we get into the weekend. Phillip Rivers, don't want to call him a sleeper because he's been around forever, but he's one of the most consistent fantasy quarterbacks, and I expect it again here this week. Number 18 is going to be Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, going up against the New York Jets. Love the upside of Josh Allen, especially with the rushing ability that he has, and now he has a few more weapons at his disposal. We know about John Brown, Zay Jones, Bob Foster, Cole Beasley, the new rookie running back, Devin Singletary, Frank Gore, who may be 64 years old by now. I'd have to check that. He's got a lot of options, and I think this defense is a little bit underrated in Buffalo. Josh Allen could be another one of these guys that hits on certain weeks. The problem with him could be consistency. That's the reason why almost every week he's going to kind of be right here at that mid to bottom quarterback 2 range. It's just hard to trust the consistency of that Buffalo Bills offense until we see it a little bit more. Number 19 is going to be Jimmy G, Jimmy Garoppolo, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He may be slightly lower than he should. He could definitely outperform this ranking because the defense is just so poor in Tampa Bay. We know Jimmy G now has an abundance of weapons that he did not have before in the past. Before, really all he had was Marquise Goodwin. Now he's got Marquise Goodwin, Deebo Samuel, Dante Pettis, George Kittle, Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, and I could keep on going. This offense is going to be explosive at times in San Francisco. Jimmy G is somebody whose ceiling on a weekly basis could be huge. Last guy, number 20, Jacoby Brissett of the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of people hated it when they heard that Andrew Luck retired, and Jacoby Brissett is no Andrew Luck. Absolutely not. Going up against the Los Angeles Chargers in Los Angeles, I expect the Colts to have to throw. Brissett is now more familiar in this offense. They're going to try to establish the run game with Marlon Mack, take some of that pressure off Brissett. But with T.Y. Hilton there, hashtag never Funchess. You got Jack Motherfucking Doyle, Eric Ebron. He does have weapons at his disposal. And don't forget, Paris Campbell, a rookie wide receiver that can make some noise this week. Jacoby Brissett's going to be quarterback 20 for me. All right, let's move on to the running back position. No surprise. Number 1, Ezekiel Elliott. We've been saying it all offseason. If he signs, if he's a Cowboy, if he's there week 1, you're going to start him. He's going to be an elite option at the position, keeping him at number 1 with a great matchup against the Giants. Number 2, the guy who he's playing in that game, Saquon Barkley. Could be somewhat of a difficult matchup. I think the Dallas defense is a little bit underrated by a lot of people this season, but it's Saquon Barkley. All he needs is one big play to give you a great fantasy day. He's going to be my running back 2. Number 3, Alvin Kamara this week in that shootout with Houston. I can see a heavy dosage of Alvin Kamara all game long, not only on the ground, but through the air. Love Alvin Kamara. Number 4 is going to be Christian McCaffrey. The volume alone for Christian McCaffrey this week has enough to put him in that top 4. He was a top 4 pick in your fantasy football draft. More than likely, more weeks than not, he's going to be in the top 4 of the rankings. Going up against the Los Angeles Rams, he may not find a whole lot of room on the ground this game. However, with his ability to catch passes through the air, automatic, huge upgrade for Christian McCaffrey. Number 5, could be a surprise. It's Dalvin Cook, Minnesota Vikings. I said it when I was talking about quarterbacks and Kirk Cousins. They're going to try to establish the running game in Minnesota. They need to. That's what's really going to help out not only Kirk Cousins, but open up the field for the Diggs and the Thielens. Dalvin Cook coming out with his pass-catching ability out of the backfield. He's not just reliant on running between the tackles. The guy has breakaway speed, elusiveness, and great vision out of the backfield. He's healthy. Love Dalvin Cook. He's running back 5. Number 6, David Johnson going up against the Detroit Lions. Now, a lot of people wanted to hop off the Arizona bandwagon after the preseason, but David Johnson is definitely going to be somebody who's going to be used not only running the ball, but in the pass-catching game also. Rookie quarterback Kyler Murray. At times, if he's looking for checkdowns, who's it going to be to? David Johnson, especially in PPR leagues. Still a safe play in my opinion. David Johnson's number 6. Number 7, it's my boy Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. A somewhat difficult matchup going up against the Tennessee Titans, but I mentioned it earlier also. I expect the Browns to come out hot and heavy, trying to do their best to make a statement in week 1. The offensive line, it's not great in Cleveland, but Nick Chubb is an elite level running back in the NFL. He can make things happen once the ball is in his hands. If Cleveland can come out to a lead here in the first half, I expect a heavy dose of Nick Chubb in the second. Number 8 is going to be James Conner, Pittsburgh Steelers, going up against the New England Patriots. We really don't know what this offense is going to look like, but we do know that James Conner is going to be involved not only running the ball, but pass catching also. This is why all of these backs are at the top of the list. They have the ability to catch those passes out of the backfield. James Conner, love the upside, love the usage. He'll be the goal line back. Jalen Samuels will be involved, but James Conner should see the bulk of the touches. Number 9, it's going to be Todd Gurley, Los Angeles Rams. Reports coming out that he will not be limited, that he should be a full go week 1. And this, right now, week 1, is the healthiest that Todd Gurley will be all season. If you drafted him, you're starting him because he's never going to be more healthy than he is right now, at least for this season. It's a decent matchup going up against the Carolina Panthers, and it's Todd Gurley in this offense. You could put anybody in that backfield. They're going to be productive. Love Todd Gurley. He's still running back 9, but would not surprise me if he outproduces this ranking. Number 10 is Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon is actually starting to trend down just a little bit for me. He could get a little bit lower as we get into the weekend. And why? Well, not only is his offensive line taking a huge hit here in the offseason, but now he gets a Seattle defense that just added Jadeveon Clowney in Seattle. This game could get ugly if Seattle can get out to a lead. Cincinnati's going to be forced to throw the ball. The only reason I'm keeping Joe Mixon where he's at is because if they're forced to throw the ball, we may see more Joe Mixon in the passing game second half of this ball game. So he still has that upside. I'm just worried about him finding any room between the tackles, running the ball out of the backfield. Joe Mixon could struggle in that scenario if it gets into a ground and pound type game. Number 11, Le'Veon Bell of the Jets. Now, I've been saying all year long that I think Le'Veon Bell is going to have a great season with the Jets, but I don't think we should expect Pittsburgh numbers with Le'Veon Bell, and it's a difficult matchup. A lot of people are hating on the Buffalo Bills defense. I don't hate it. Ed Oliver, now their addition from the draft in the middle of that defensive line, he could create some havoc, and Le'Veon Bell at times may see the usage, but where he's really going to be a safer play is his involvement in the passing game. That's where he's really going to make you some fantasy football money. That's what needs to happen. If it's just a ground and pound style game, the Jets offensive line is not the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line. Bell could struggle. They need to get him the ball through the air. Number 12 is going to be Kerryon Johnson, Detroit Lions, going up against an Arizona defense that is somewhat depleted at times. Their defensive line, I think their run defense is better than their pass defense is going to be. But Kerryon Johnson's involvement in the passing game is really going to be what separates him here this week. Yes, CJ Anderson is going to be there, and yes, CJ Anderson is going to touch the football. A lot of people are going to be irritated when he touches the football, but they are not going to go out there and give Kerryon Johnson a full workload, especially in week one, in a game in which they could win easily against the Arizona Cardinals. This one could really go either way, but Kerryon Johnson's upside, just due to his pass-catching ability, has him at running back 12. Number 13 is Devontae Freeman of the Atlanta Falcons. I got him a little bit higher than a lot of people, and for this reason, I think if the pass rush can really get to Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons, I think we see a lot of check down passes, a lot of screen passes, a lot of easy dump off passes to Devontae Freeman this week. So in PPR leagues, I think he really has that value. And we already know that once the ball is in his hands, he can make big plays happen. He's another one of these guys that may not find a whole lot of rushing room out of the backfield, but if they can, put him in motion, put him in the slot at times, be creative with Devontae Freeman and that pass catching ability that he has, I really don't expect, Quadri Olson or Brian Hill or Ito Smith or whoever else you want to throw in that backfield to really be a threat to Devontae Freeman at all season long. I've said it all off season. Love Devontae Freeman, even though it's a difficult matchup. I think the ceiling is still there, just due to the pass catching ability also. Number 14 is going to be Leonard Fournette going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. The only reason Fournette is not higher on this list is really because the Jags need to keep this game close with the Chiefs. If the Chiefs can come out and get a 2-score lead at any point of this game, I could really see the Jags starting to rely on the passing game a little bit more. Leonard Fournette, not really known for his pass-catching ability. Yes, he does have that ability at times, but he's not elite in that area by any means. Going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Jags need to keep it close, and if they do, Leonard Fournette could have a big game. Number 15 is going to be Chris Carson, Seattle Seahawks. Love Chris Carson this week going up against Cincinnati. Yes, I expect Rashad Penny at times to get touches. Hopefully it's not on the goal line, though, because Chris Carson and the workload that he could see in week one could be huge. Love him here. I got him as running back 15. Number 16, this will surprise some people. It's Duke Johnson of the Houston Texans. We've been talking about it for all these different positions and players. I expect a high-volume, high-scoring game. Vegas expects this to be the highest-scoring game of the week also. There's a lot of points and yards to be had in this game with the Texans and Saints. Duke Johnson, as of right now, is probably the most seasoned guy in that backfield, but he's not relegated to just running the ball. Pass-catching ability is there. They're going to have to score to keep pace with the Saints. I like Duke Johnson. Got him as running back 16. Number 17 is going to be Damian Williams, Kansas City Chiefs. Tough matchup against the Jaguars, but I do expect this backfield to still be mostly Damian Williams here, at least for week one. Shady McCoy may not be overly involved in the game plan, being that he just got into town, even though, yes, he has some prior involvement with Andy Reid, so there's some familiarity there. I do expect Darwin Thompson to touch the ball at times, but I think at least for week one, Damian Williams has the higher upside of the trio and should see the bulk of the touches this week. Tough matchup against the Jaguars, like I said. However, his involvement in the passing game and this offense alone is enough to make sure he's at least a running back 2 here for week one. Number 18 is going to be Marlon Mack, Indianapolis Colts, going up against the Chargers in Los Angeles. And I think Marlon Mack sees a heavy workload in this game. And that's why I still have him as a running back, too. A lot of people wanted to hop off the bandwagon once Andrew Luck retired. But I still think with the volume alone, the goal line carries, Marlon Mack has some serious upside. They need to establish that running game to take away the pressure off of Jacoby Brissett. Yes, he's not the new guy in town in Indianapolis anymore as Brissett, but he still needs whatever they can give him to help get him acclimated a little bit to being the number one in Indianapolis. Marlon Mack should see heavy workload. Got him as running back 18. Number 19, it's going to be Mark Ingram, Baltimore Ravens. I talked about how much I like Lamar Jackson on the ground when we talked quarterbacks. Love Mark Ingram just as much. They brought this guy into town to take the bulk of the early down work and the goal line work. Yes, Justice Hill will also be involved, and I do like Justice Hill, but they're going to run the ball a lot in Baltimore. Mark Ingram is going to be running back 19 for me. Number 20, Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans. The only reason he's not higher on this list is A, I really like the Cleveland defense, especially the run defense in Cleveland, and B, he hasn't been really healthy all off season. Let's make sure we get him out there, we get him healthy. Let's see how he looks before we really vault him up these rankings. If the usage is there, if the 20-plus touches a week are there for Derrick Henry, this is a guy who we could see inside the top 12 rest of season. However, week 1, got him at running back 20. All right, flying right into wide receiver. Number 1 is going to be DeAndre Hopkins, Houston Texans. Been talking about the shootout all show long. It's going to continue. DeAndre Hopkins, despite getting a difficult matchup, more than likely with Marshawn Lattimore in New Orleans, it doesn't really matter who DeAndre Hopkins goes up against. He's going to be a stud. Number 1 running back for me here for the weekend. Number 2 is Julio Jones, and this is something we really have to watch, though, for the weekend. If he plays, I'm always going to start Julio Jones. But now these news, these rumors, these reports are coming out that he may not play if he doesn't have a new contract by game time. Do I think that he plays in this game? I really do, but it's something that we really have to pay attention to. You need to have a plan B on your bench just in case, because there is always that chance, with as crazy as this offseason has been for the NFL, that more craziness doesn't continue to happen in week 1. Right now, though, as of the time of this recording, Julio Jones, wide receiver 2. Number 3 is Odell Beckham, Cleveland Browns. Like I've said, I've loved the Cleveland Browns this week. I expect them to come out and make a statement. Reports are coming out that Odell Beckham is 100% and healthy. Let's see what this guy is capable of with a quarterback at the level of Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying that Eli Manning is just some horrible quarterback. However, Baker Mayfield, different style of quarterback that can make more things happen for Odell Beckham. Love the upside of him in this offense. I got him at wide receiver 3 this week. Number 4, Michael Thomas, another part of that shootout between the Saints and the Texans. Obviously, Michael Thomas, one of the best wide receivers in football. Don't need to sell you on him. The upside, the targets, they'll always be there. Number 5, Mike Evans, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot. Like a lot, because that run game may be non-existent behind a below-average offensive line. Now, Chris Godwin takes a step forward this year, but all that does is take away some of the defensive attention off of Mike Evans. He's the favorite target of Jameis Winston. He could have a huge, not only week, but season. Number 6, Tyreek Hill. He just got paid, just got his extension. As a part of this offense of the Kansas City Chiefs, it doesn't matter who he goes up against. He always has that ability to put up big numbers with only one play. That's all the guy needs to make something huge happen. Right now, he's wide receiver 6. Number 7 is Juju, Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Patriots. I think Juju sees a lot of targets this week, but can Dante Moncrief and James Washington take away some of that defensive attention? Otherwise, Juju's going to see nothing but double teams all game long. Can he do anything with that? Yeah, he still has that talent. But let's make sure that one of these other guys takes a step forward before we start putting Juju higher up this list. I got him at number 7 for this week. Number 8 is going to be Keenan Allen. Sounds like he's 100% good to go, and he's going to be the top target of Phillip Rivers. He's somebody that can go out there and get you 10 targets on a weekly basis. He's not so much that guy that's going to go out there and get you, 1,500 yards, but he's a safe play when healthy, going up against an Indianapolis Colts team. And now that Mike Williams has taken that step forward, Hunter Henry's in the mix, there's going to be other people that take some of that defensive attention. Keenan Allen, safe play for me here in week 1. Number 9 is going to be Adam Thielen, Minnesota Vikings. Another one of these guys. I actually got Thielen and Diggs back-to-back at 9 and 10. I think they both see a lot of volume because I really like Dalvin Cook this week. So if Dalvin Cook is being successful, the one-on-one coverage that Thielen and Diggs are going to see on the outside are going to absolutely torch the Atlanta Falcons. I love both of them. Got them at 9 and 10. Number 11, it's going to be Amari Cooper, Dallas Cowboys. Now that Zeke is in the backfield, he's going to demand that defensive attention. They're going to have to add an extra man to the box just to keep an eye on Zeke. What does that do? Possibly gives Amari Cooper more one-on-one matchups, especially if Michael Gallup is producing on the other side. Love Amari Cooper. He seems to be over his plantar fasciitis, and I got him right now as wide receiver 11. Number 12 and 13, back-to-back Rams. I got Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods. Both of these guys going into Carolina to play against the Panthers. If Todd Gurley does have any limitations, no, they're not going to come out and say that before the game, but if they do, this is one of the highest powered offenses in football. You want a part of it in your offense. Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, solid starts. Got him at wide receiver 12 and 13. Number 14 is going to be Julian Edelman, and based off of volume alone, he'll probably always be right here in this mid-wide receiver 2 range. He's not the big, huge, flashy, 150-yard, 2-touchdown type of guy, but he is the type of guy that can go out there and catch 10 balls on a weekly basis and give you a solid floor. A solid wide receiver 2 on a weekly basis seems to be fine with the thumb injury. Good to go against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Pittsburgh Steelers can continue to move the ball and score some points, we already know what Julian Edelman and Tom Brady are capable of. He's going to be the favorite target, the most looked at target in this offense. Julian Edelman is another one of these safe plays. Got him at wide receiver 14. 15 is going to be Chris Godwin, same as I talked about with Mike Evans. I expect Tampa Bay to have to throw the ball a lot. With Godwin on the opposite side of Mike Evans, you know that he's going to see a lot of one-on-one coverage, and he has looked absolutely amazing in the preseason, and Jameis Winston is looking his way. Chris Godwin is definitely a surprising wide receiver here in 2019. Number 16 is going to be Calvin Ridley. Love the upside of Calvin Ridley, and this could change somewhat depending on the status of Julio Jones. Right now, Julio playing more than likely draws Xavier Rhodes. Calvin Ridley could see the lighter coverage right now. Now, if Julio Jones does sit, that's more defensive attention going towards Calvin Ridley. So that's something that may actually drop him down the list a little bit. Kind of need to see how it plays out with him and Mohamed Sanu. But as of right now, with Julio playing, I love Calvin Ridley in Minnesota this week. Number 17 is going to be Tyler Lockett, the big play guy of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, does he lose some of those big plays, or at least some of those opportunities, with DK Metcalf in the game? It's possible. I mean, everybody knows that DK Metcalf can run the go route and go up and get the 50-50 ball. But as of right now, Tyler Lockett, he's the number one option in the passing game for the Seattle Seahawks, and he has that chemistry with Russell Wilson. Love Tyler Lockett. Got him right now at 17. Number 18 is going to be Jarvis Landry, Cleveland Browns. And I don't know how many more times I need to say this. I really like Jarvis Landry this year. He's always been the number one option on his NFL team. In Miami, last year in Cleveland, he was always their top guy. Well, he's not the top guy anymore. He'll see more one-on-one coverage this year, than an elementary school basketball game. The guy is going to absolutely feast on this one-on-one coverage. He has the chemistry with Baker Mayfield, and if they lock down Odell Beckham, look for Jarvis Landry to be the safety valve that can really rack up receptions. He may not have huge receiving yardage numbers, but the touchdowns could be there, and so could the receptions. Jarvis Landry is going to be a locked and loaded wide receiver 2 for me every week. Number 19 is going to be Kenny Golladay, Detroit Lions. Now, I don't like Kenny Golladay as a whole for the season. However, week 1, I like Kenny Golladay. It's because the defensive backs for Arizona, they're not going to be there. There's no Patrick Peterson. There's no Robert Alford. They're not playing week 1. Kenny Golladay, going up against their 3rd and 4th strings defensive backs, could absolutely feast this week. Love Kenny Golladay. I expect him to find the end zone here in week 1. Lastly, number 20 is going to be T.Y. Hilton. Now, obviously, he took a big hit with the retirement of Andrew Luck, but we can't forget about him. He is still an elite wide receiver in the NFL that has the ability to make a big play happen. Yes, Jacoby Brissett is not Andrew Luck, but T.Y. Hilton is somebody whose number is going to be called a lot, and if Brissett is looking for somebody deep, look for T.Y. Hilton. We know why. Devin Funchess can't catch anything. T.Y. Hilton's still the man in Indianapolis. I got him right now, wide receiver 20. All right, let's move on to tight ends now, the football kind. Number 1 for me is going to be Zach Ertz, Philadelphia Eagles. Now, he's got a great matchup going up against the Washington Redskins at home. The home opener in front of those Philly fans are going to be going absolutely crazy. I expect Philly to come out, heavy with the passing game in the first half, trying to involve the Deshaun Jacksons. If they can get in the red zone, look out for Zach Ertz. He's somebody that would not surprise me one bit if he had a multiple touchdown game here in week 1. Number 2, Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs. It is somewhat of a more difficult matchup going up against the Jaguars, but he did last year, had 100 yards receiving. Not overly scared with Travis Kelce. Obviously, if you have him, you're starting him. Still love Travis Kelce here. He's my tight end 2 for the week. Number 3, George Kittle going up against that horrible defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's still somebody that's going to be looked at a lot in this offense. The only reason George Kittle may be starting to fall somewhat is just because of what is George Kittle with Jimmy G. We know what Jimmy G's done in the past, maybe with like a Marquise Goodwin, but now there's more options there. Does George Kittle lose some of those targets that he saw last year? Of course he does, but does he become more efficient with the ones that he gets? That's the biggest question. Still love George Kittle, got him at tight end 3. 4, Evan Ingram, New York Giants. Just based off of volume alone, there's not too many people to catch a ball thrown by a New York Giants quarterback right now. Evan Ingram, one of the only options in week one, should be absolutely peppered with targets. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Love him here. He's tight end number 4. Number 5 is going to be Hunter Henry, Los Angeles Chargers. We know that Phillip Rivers utilizes his tight ends. He always has. It's been Antonio Gates in the past. Hunter Henry now has had the torch fully passed to him. He looks healthy. He'll be involved in the passing game. We already know that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the outside will demand some defensive attention. Hunter Henry could absolutely feast in the red zone. Got him at number 5 this week. Number 6, going to be O.J. Howard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We already know that Tampa Bay is going to what? Yep. You guessed it, because you listened to the show earlier. They're going to throw the ball a lot in Tampa Bay because their running game will suck. O.J. Howard could see double-digit targets on a weekly basis, and inside the red zone, the only thing you really have to worry about is Cameron Brate. But outside of that, O.J. Howard is the better option, the more athletic option, the option that can really make things happen after the catch. Yards after catch is where O.J. Howard can make you some money. Number 7, Vance McDonald, Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, he could see another one of these guys to see double-digit targets on a weekly basis. Do the other wide receivers, do the James Washingtons and Dante Moncriefs, do they step up their game? If not, maybe Vance McDonald becomes a number 2 option in this offense behind Juju. And if that's the case, value goes through the roof. I got him at tight end 7. Number 8 is going to be Jared Cook, New Orleans Saints, with that shootout game against the Texans. I think a lot of people want to expect Jared Cook to be what Jimmy Graham used to be in this New Orleans offense, but is he? I'm not going to go that far just yet. As of right now, though, he seems to be the number 2 pass-catching option, at least after Michael Thomas. I mean, who else is there that really demands a huge target share? I mean, you got the Traquan Smiths and Ted Gins, but outside of Kamara in the backfield and Thomas on the outside, Cook may be the next best option, especially in the red zone, if teams are choosing to double down on Michael Thomas. Jared Cook, another great option, got him inside the top 10 at tight end 8. Number 9 is going to be Darren Waller, Oakland Raiders, and this one could really change what happens with Antonio Brown. Does he play? Does he not play? Reports are coming out that he is. Reports are coming out that he isn't. If he does not play, Darren Waller becomes very, very intriguing. Why? Because outside of Hunter Renfrow and Tyrell Williams, Darren Waller would be the next best option in this offense, and we know what that offense did with their tight ends last year. Jared Cook feasted, especially on week 1 last year. That's Darren Waller this year. However, another one of those things we need to watch. If Antonio Brown plays, I still like Darren Waller, but he may fall down this list just a couple spots. Number 10 is David Njoku, Cleveland Browns. Now, we've talked about all the defensive attention that not only, Baker and Chubb and Odell and Landry are going to get, but what does that do for David Njoku? This guy is a crazy athletic freak, and once they get in the red zone, he's that big-bodied guy that if they choose to double down on the Odell Beckhams or the Jarvis Landrys, or the offensive line can't open up holes for Nick Chubb, David Njoku is somebody that this team wants to get involved, because if they can involve him in the middle of the field, that opens up all kinds of things on the outside for the Cleveland Browns. I got David Njoku as number 10 tight end here for week 1. Number 11 is going to be Mark Andrews, Baltimore Ravens. In my opinion, the only pass-catching option that I would want for the Baltimore Ravens, or at least to start week 1. Mark Andrews kind of has that George Kittle breakout-esque, stigma around him. I do think he becomes the safety target of Lamar Jackson. He's somebody that could see some heavy targets, and he's another one of these guys that can make something happen after the catch. Going up against a Miami Dolphins defense, like Mark Andrews, got him at tight end 11. Number 12, it's Eric Ebron going up against the Chargers. Eric Ebron's still going to be involved heavily in this offense, but he also takes a hit with the loss of Andrew Luck. Plus, the return of Jack Motherfucking Doyle is going to eat into some of the production of Eric Ebron. He's not a locked and loaded top 4, top 5 option like he was last year, but still has that upside. Got him at tight end 12. 13, I'm going Dallas Goedert, Philadelphia Eagles. I think they utilize both of these guys in Philadelphia, especially once they get inside the 20s. Dallas Goedert could be one of the very first tight ends in history that is a handcuff, because this guy could put up huge numbers, especially if something were to ever happen to Zach Ertz. He's another big-bodied athletic tight end that they want to incorporate more into the game plan. The only issue with him, a lot of options in Philadelphia, but he's still somebody that we could see produce on a weekly basis. Number 14, Austin Hooper. Tough matchup going up against the Vikings, and he also is going to have to struggle with all the other options in this offense. Now, if Julio Jones sits, Austin Hooper becomes a little bit more intriguing because they're going to be looking for more pass-catching weapons. Austin Hooper is not a name to forget about, but as of right now, not overly excited to start him week 1. Number 15 is Delanie Walker, Tennessee Titans. Not overly excited to start Delanie Walker. but not so much because of him. It's because of Marcus Mariota. However, in the past, the two have shown some chemistry. Even though Delaney Walker is 64 years old and has to use like a walker on the sidelines, it feels like he's still a legit option in this offense. There are other targets there now with Adam Humphries, Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, but Delaney Walker has that built-in safety valve, that chemistry with Marcus Mariota, and it's enough for me to put him here as a low-end tight end too. Number 16 is going to be T.J. Hawkinson, Detroit Lions, going up against the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals defense, like I said, through the air is going to be weaker than on the ground. T.J. Hawkinson could find some room. They could try to get him involved in the red zone. I think that they keep him back to block at times because the ends of Terrell Suggs and the Chandler Jones is rushing the passer for the Arizona Cardinals could keep T.J. Hawkinson there on the line pass blocking to keep Matthew Stafford upright. However, would not surprise me to see T.J. Hawkinson leak out a time or two and get some big chunks of yardage. Number 17 is going to be Mike Gesicki of the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to have to throw, and more than anything, I trust Ryan Fitzmagic to throw the ball. Who's he going to throw to? And there's not too many options. No more Kenny Stills. You got Albert Wilson and basically Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki is probably going to be their big-bodied option. Devontae Parker, a.k.a. Fantasy Bigfoot, only has sightings. I'm trusting Mike Gesicki more in that offense, especially in the red zone. Got him right now as tight end 17. 18 is Jeff Swaim, Jacksonville Jaguars, going up against Kansas City Chiefs. If the Jaguars are forced to throw to stay in this ball game, Jeff Swaim is somebody who could become somewhat of a little bit of an option late here in the tight end 2 tier. He's going to have some upside. I do expect the Jags to throw the ball more this year, obviously, but Jeff Swaim is not somebody who you're excited to start. Number 19, it's going to be Greg Olsen, Carolina Panthers. Old, reliable. Well, he hasn't really been reliable lately, but he could be one of the top targets of Cam Newton. The problem with that is trusting Cam Newton. Does anybody out there really trust Cam Newton? That's the hard part. However, chemistry is there, red zone opportunities are there, and he's put up big numbers in the past. Last guy, number 20, is Jack Doyle. I think he could out-target Eric Ebron. He may not outproduce him, but in a PPR league, Jack Doyle may be a little bit safer option. He always has that ability to go out there and catch you 7 to 10 balls. He may only get 60, 70, 80 yards on it, but in PPR leagues, Jack Doyle's still a solid option. All right, well, that may be one of the only times I've really broken a sweat from just talking, flew through those names. Hopefully, that's what you guys are looking for to help you set your lineups here for week 1. Before we get out of here, just a reminder, we do offer a ton of DFS content. I mean, we had guys all over the place last night winning money on that Thursday night football game that was absolutely disgusting to watch. We were still cashing out in DFS lineups. We have to kind of limit what we do here on YouTube due to some of their regulations. However, if that's something you're interested in, link down below to our Patreon account. There is a DFS season pass that's available. It gives you all kinds of weekly content, top value plays, picks of the weeks, cheat sheets, all kinds of stuff, all available. Link in the description. If you're looking for more DFS content, that's where you're going to find it. But hey, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here and you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. We greatly appreciate the support. Leave those comments down below. Myself, Kyle, Chris, Mac, a member of the Headliner Nation team, is going to do our best to get to as many of them as we possibly can. As you can tell, thousands of comments on each video, plus the social media accounts. Gets a little hard at times, but we do the best that we can. If you don't get a response, it's a sincere apology. We try to get to as many as we possibly can on a weekly basis. But hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your week. Good luck in your week 1 matchups. We have a live show coming in Saturday evening to make sure that anybody has any last-minute Q&A. We got you covered coming at you Saturday evening. Hopefully, you have a great rest of your day. Talk to you later.